But no, but you see, I'm not so much of a. I don't do it because I'm worried about cleanliness or anything like that. I just feel like it just softens up the bristles to do it before, and then once you're done, then that's rinsing off. But because I don't know, like because the bristles kind of get hard and stuff once sitting for a few hours. You want to give it a little bit of water to soften them up.
No, but I mean, what do you have, like baby teeth? Like, I mean, toothbrush bristles are supposed to be firm.
I guess so, but
he does have baby teeth. It's from all that Chef Boyardee rotting away his fillings.
This is true. This is true. Rob, you are so prepared for old age because they don't have to change your diet.
Oh, wow.
Just give me soft food.
Those ravioli will just slide right on down that old throat of yours.
Oh, man, those are good.
Gum away.
They're gonna feed you like a little baby bird. They just shove it right in there. Rob will just be open mouth. Just shove those ravioli right in there.
Listen, I'm ready. Like, this sounds great. Like, it's some nurse feeding me Chef Boyardee every day. Like, yeah, I'm down. I'm ready. I'm ready. Take me now.
Until the nurse comes in. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, Rob.
It's for her. Hey, and welcome to another episode of AT Banter.
Banter.
Oof, way. This is, of course, the podcast. We'll get to that. Don't worry. This is, of course, the podcast where we talk with advocates and members of the disability community to educate and inspire better conversation about disability. Hey, my name is Rob Minot, and joining me today, hey, look who it is. It's the lovely, the talented Miss Liz Malone.
Hey, I got a cowbell. I got a cowbell.
We all got cowbells.
Yeah, but I don't know. That was some cowbell.
But I strike my cowbell like a woman scorned. Different.
This is true. And hey, look who else it is. It's Mr. Steve Barkling.
Yes, I am, and I refuse to deny it.
So no Mr. Ryan Fleury today, which is why we had a substitute cowbell there. What, just out of curiosity, what are you striking that with?
A metal spoon.
Okay, that explains it.
What else would you strike it with?
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? What do you want me to use? A little wooden pencil? No. I told you, like a woman scorned. Come on.
Hey, well, no, it gives it a bit of a different resonance. It's all good. It's the new cowbell, and we embrace it. So, great job.
I got a feisty cowbell.
You do.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of feisty, I feel like we need to start the show off. Maybe, I don't know, maybe clear the air a bit. I'm not really sure how this is going to go. As our listeners may or may not know, of course, the Winter Olympics just ended over the weekend, and of course we had a big hockey game between the United States and Canada.
Massive.
And I don't know. I feel like maybe we've got a few hosts that were on separate sides of this game, so I think maybe we better clear the air and let them work this out. So, how is everybody post game?
Oh, fantastic. I mean, that was probably the best hockey game I've watched in a very, very long time. It was fantastic. It was a nail-biter start to finish. Liz, congratulations. Your team played a phenomenal game. I mean, it could have gone either way. It was brilliant.
As a hockey fan, whenever you get a game that goes into overtime, it's like just gold. I mean, that's just exciting hockey, just going to sudden death. And Steve's 100% right that, I mean, I was watching it live and I was clenched
Yeah.
And then once it goes, and then when you're watching the clock go down in the third period, and you're like, oh my God, it's gonna go to overtime. And then it's almost like overtime is like a whole new like game, because it's just, like I said, it's sudden death. It's three,
it's going to be over as soon as somebody scores, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's really beautiful when you see 3-on-3. I mean, I'm always a fan of that, because it takes a lot
I am
of.
so not a fan of the 3-on-3.
I love it. I love it. I mean, I wouldn't want the whole game to be that, but I think it's just a very different strategy kind of, way of playing. I mean, they have to be really defensive, and it's a lot of fun to watch. But of course, my team guy, assistant captain Jack Hughes, from my team, the Devils, he did score he
he
the
certainly
big goal.
did.
And he lost like 3 teeth. Did you see that?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Wait, during the game?
Yeah. He took a high stick to the mouth, and
Jeez.
I mean, the poor kid looks like a jack-o'-lantern.
Wow, that's terrible.
He's got good insurance.
Online.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Believe me, that they probably have molds of every player's teeth with the team prosthodontist. I mean,
It's terrible.
once they saw it, I'm sure they were looking at the videotape, and that guy was already like, okay, we need a 4 and a 5 incisor. We're gonna, blah blah blah, and was already like making the molds. And yeah, I mean, the guy's gonna have new teeth probably by breakfast tomorrow.
Like, did he lose them all in one hit?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
one hit. Yeah.
And he still did. Did he still play?
He won the game.
Wow, good for
He
him.
scored
Man.
the winning goal.
Yeah.
Man, I cracked a tooth on a Tic Tac once, and I just went straight to bed.
Dental pain is like no other pain, in my opinion. Like
it's
it's
just
just something like
relentless.
that. Yeah. So
Man, can't
when
imagine.
when that happened, I was like, oh my God, is he going to be out? And no, he played with a bloody face.
Wow.
I got to say, though, I really do hate the 3-on-3. Having a hockey game played 5-on-5 and then deciding it with 3-on-3, to me, that's like having, a tennis match and then saying, okay, well, we're tied at the end, so let's play ping pong now.
Well, I would prefer that I like at least when it just stays 3-on-3. I hate a shootout.
Yeah. Same.
I always hate
shootouts.
that. Yeah. Though, I mean, and they only do that. They don't do that during the Olympics, but they'll do that in the regular NHL season. And you're just like, oh my God, I'm like, frig, hate the shootout.
Yeah.
Wait, is this a special Olympic rule, that the 3-on-3 thing? Because I don't know if I've ever heard of this, but.
Well, the 3-on-3 is a regular, NHL, most probably all the leagues, hockey, but the shootout doesn't happen in NHL like postseason, right?
Yeah,
Am I right?
It's only during the regular
it's
season.
only during the regular season. So they'll just keep playing, doing the 3-on-3. But but I hate regular season they do the shootout. I'm like, man, gosh. So
If anything, go the other way. Make it 7-on-7.
just
make it absolute mayhem.
clear the benches and just have them all just have it be a big hockey stick rigmarole.
But yeah, that was just a wicked good game. Did you now, Liz? Did you watch any of the other U.S. games? Because I didn't watch the U.S. play, but I did watch all of the Canada games, and I got to say, some of the officiating through this tournament was just brutal.
I had heard some comments about it. I didn't get to watch a lot of the games. And I tried to go back and watch some of them, and then when you hear the score, you're like, oh God, well, I don't need to watch it now. You just and I kept trying to avoid the programming where they're going to just blurt out who won. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, no, I did hear about some questionable calls. That's what I had heard, and I didn't get to see any of them, unfortunately.
Yeah, there was one where Canada was playing. Who were we playing? I've already forgotten. It doesn't matter. But in one game, the opponent's team came back, tied the game, and they had 6 players on the ice when they tied the game. And you can count all 6 players on the ice during the play, and you can see 6 players on the ice celebrating the goal. and it was never called. It was just never called.
Oh.
And the same thing happened with the U.S. team in the finals. There was one play where there were 6 guys. They were all around the bench. There was kind of a line change going on, but somebody played the puck. There were 6 guys on the ice. It should have immediately been called a penalty, and it wasn't. So I don't know. I thought the officiating was sketchy, and there were a lot of other, non-calls and calls that were just, one guy would do a hook, not get called for it. Another guy would do a hook, get called for it. There was no consistency to calls, and it's frustrating. Players have a hard time navigating that when there's no reffing consistency.
Well, that was like you heard about the ice dancing couple from the U.S. That was they were stripped of their gold because of the French judge.
Yes, I did hear that. Yeah,
and it was just so blatantly obvious, and it wasn't even close. Like so.
Yeah, the person who beat them fell, and they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that to me was appalling. Like, I'm sorry, you fall during your routine, you don't deserve to win. Especially when somebody else delivered a routine that was flawless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Oh, well, that's good. So I have to say, good for you guys. I'm really glad that everybody was an adult about this. I didn't know what to expect coming into the show. I thought maybe there'd be some gloating or some trash talking. Good for you guys. You guys, the spirit of the Olympics, good sportsmanship and all that. So, we're all winners.
He's disappointed, Liz. Say something bad about my team.
Kind of, but wanted to fight. But whatever.
I always say that the people who really just love the sport, they don't have to gloat. Like when the Devils suck, I will be the first one to say they sucked. And right now, like this year, they suck. They're not playing as well as they could. I am not an apologist for my team ever. And but if someone plays really good hockey, you just if you love the game, you just got to call it like it is. Like, yeah, that was a fantastic game. It could have gone either way, like easily. I mean, that's why it was so close. But one other thing I will say though, is that when they were doing the medals and they were going down the row and giving all the Canadians their medals, I said, "Oh my God, look at those faces!" Like,
oh yeah. Same with the women's team. Like, I've never seen a more morose group of people getting a silver medal in my life.
Bummer. It's a bummer.
They were just pissed.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's disappointing, I'm sure, but they got a free trip to Italy, so.
Yeah, right.
And they didn't lose any teeth. I mean, be happy about that. I mean, that sounds like that guy really wanted it.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways. Hey, I know we could probably talk about hockey the entire hour, but I'm really excited about today's show. So I think we should get on with it. Hey, Liz.
Yes, Rob.
Hey, you wanna explain to our audience just who we got waiting in the wings to talk to us and what the heck we're doing?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'm going to do this as well as Ryan does, so hopefully I'm going to do him proud, but we'll see. So today we have a returning guest, Mr. John B. Grimes, who is a disability and meningitis awareness advocate, a podcast host, and most recently added the title of author to his credits with his newly released book. It's titled Destiny Is Debatable, a memoir of meningitis, losing sight, and the love I didn't see coming. So welcome, John, to the show.
Howdy.
Hey, welcome back.
What's going on? Rob, Steve, Liz.
Good to have you.
What's happening?
Yeah. Well, listen, it's for us, it's all the same. But hey, you went away and you wrote a book, so we told you we'd have you back when you wrote a book, and then you went out and did it. So we would have had you back on just for the heck of it, but you didn't have to write the book. But I understand you really wanted to come back. So
yeah, that was probably the primary reason.
No, listen, congratulations on the book. We think we've all read it, and it's amazing.
I will tell you that this book packs a lot, and so unpacking it, even to start talking about it, is a whole big process. So But, for those who maybe didn't meet John from the first time he was on the show, so John, just why don't you give us a little more information about you and then sort of how this book came to be?
Yeah, well, I'm American, and I'm here to balance out the Canadian situation since Ryan's not here with Liz.
USA. USA.
Right. That's right. I didn't watch much of the game, although I did see the results. And of course, he was a hockey player. He got back in and won the game, so that's what it takes.
Yeah.
So I wrote a book. I did, and I was on. I think it was. Do you remember when it was? I think it was 2023.
Yep, that's right.
So it's been right about 3 years since we first spoke, and I was in the midst of writing it, and it's something that's I've been trying to write for, 20 years. It's an event that happened in my life 28 years ago, and probably really trying to write it for 15 to 20 years, but seriously writing it for the last about 4 to 5 years. And I can get into a whole lot about that. I'm not much of a writer, as it turns out. I can talk a lot better than I can write, but I finally kind of found my groove, and I was able to put it all together. But I had bacterial meningitis, more specifically known as meningococcal meningitis. It's a big word. Meningitis is a big word too. But it's an airborne bacteria that pretty much anybody can get at any time, which is pretty scary. And oftentimes, the statistics are 1 in 10 that contract it die, and 2 in 5 that contract it live with lifelong parting gifts, I would call it, or disabilities for the remainder of their time. And I'm one of the 2 to 5 people. So sight loss is the big thing, which I think is kind of what we're drawn here to hear. I'm totally blind in my right eye, and I have 2300 vision. I don't know what the metric is on that, guys. I'm sorry. I'm using imperial numbers, but it's
That's
just
all right.
not.
We use them
it's
too.
not good. I'm legally blind, and I can see just enough to be dangerous. And meningitis, I guess the 60-second story that I say is that I was in 1998, so back in the 1900s. I was 19 years old. I was a college student. Went to Texas Tech University, and like most teenagers, felt like I was 10 feet tall and bulletproof, invincible, like a lot of teenagers do. Typical student, and one day I felt like I had the flu, so I took some medicine and went to bed. 8 days later, I woke up in the hospital, blind, confused as all get out, and more than lucky to be alive. Miraculously, my fraternity brother has found me unconscious on the floor in my bedroom. I'm definitely not the only guy that's got that story from college, right?
No.
Unfortunately, rather than a crazy college night, mine was due to bacterial meningitis. And for the last 28 years, I've lived with the invisible disabilities that accompany meningitis, which is sight loss and neurological damage. And it was pretty much when I was leaving the hospital about 28 years ago that I realized that survival isn't the end of the journey. It's just the beginning.
Yeah, there's so many great talking points and things to sort of talk about in the book. I actually had trouble sort of weeding them down. But one thing that I'm sort of curious, especially when it comes to writing a memoir, is that you've got to make yourself extremely vulnerable and talk about a lot of things that it takes a lot to sort of share with the world. And certainly, in the book, you're no exception. You talk about a lot of things that are really deeply personal. Was it hard, or was all your experience in hosting a podcast, did that help when it came to that?
No, it was hard to write them. And some of that was just due to the physical nature of writing, where it was hard for me to put the right words to express the feelings. But they're also pretty personal, as you noted.
Yeah.
And I think the overwhelming thing for me, what's unique about me, and meningitis is rare, but it certainly is real. And there's I don't know, a gamut of things that happen to people. It seems like nobody is really the same that comes out of meningitis. Like oftentimes you'll get common things for after meningitis are amputations, and which has got a much more physical appearance. I mean, you see people without fingers or toes or legs or arms, and it's obvious that, something has happened there. But what was crazy for me is that all of my stuff is basically invisible. If you don't really know me, I don't use a cane or a guide dog. I live dangerously without without those kind of things. So I think the thing that really drove me to want to write about it is I kind of wanted to hand somebody. Originally, it was a piece of paper. The book is much more than a piece of paper. I went a lot deeper, but something that would kind of explain kind of some things about me and why I'm as crazy as I am, and why I may miss your handshake or your high five, or why I might do things differently than other people that other people typically have questions about. Like, doesn't really make sense. And so I really wanted to expose myself and become very vulnerable, so I could, in one fell swoop, put all this in writing. So it was because I talk to people a lot about meningitis and things that have happened, but oftentimes when I talk to people, they kind of get a different story. I mean, the story is the same, but I give them a different version, or based on what they ask, they kind of get different details. But this was kind of a way for me to lay it all out and make it the same for everybody that wants to read it. So there was a lot of catharsis involved in this process for me.
Yeah. So, John, I was just thinking, like, when I was reading the book, that, I mean, meningitis is a condition that people hear about all the time. Everyone's heard about it. Everyone sort of knows of it. And I'm using, air quotes. But and I'm including myself in this, but I had no idea, like, really what the physical impact of meningitis is on the body, on the person, on the, the long-term effects of it. So I definitely feel that this body of work gives a very, very raw and candid glimpse into what that experience is. And I'm just assuming, were you really trying to bring the readers enter into that world and sort of understand what that lived experience really is?
Yeah, for sure. And I'll just push back a little bit. You guys may be aware of meningitis. I just think there's a lot of people that aren't. And maybe you guys are super. You guys are super good, so there's no surprise, I guess, there. But like before I got it, I'd never heard of meningitis. Now, again, that was back in the 1900s, so lots have happened since then. And I think information about meningitis is better today, and awareness is certainly more than it was then. But I still think that there are people that don't know what it is and don't know how fast it can happen and kind of the signs and symptoms. That, I mean, even recently, I know people that have gone to the hospital. They felt like they were sick. It felt like more than the flu, or this is something I need to check out. They go to the ER, and the ER sends them home, because the only true way to diagnose bacterial meningitis is through a spinal tap, which is a lumbar puncture. So they got to pull fluid out of your spine. So you can't really diagnose it without that, and that's pretty evasive. It's not a strip you put on your tongue, or it's an evasive test. So once you get to more of a situation where you can get purple splotches on your extremities, on your fingers and arms and legs, and that's more of an indication of that the disease has gone septic and gotten into your blood system. And once that happens, it's a lot of times too late. Luckily, I didn't get to that point, but I think the biggest thing for me, well, maybe not the biggest, but one of the biggest for sure, is just the awareness, so that people understand how fast it works and how tragic it can be on such a. I mean, really, I went to sleep and I woke up 8 days later. It's just crazy to think that something can happen that fast, where I was unaware of anything that was happening.
It's such a great book because I think that it does a bunch of different things all at once. I think that sharing your story and sharing what the details about meningitis, I think is very important. But I think that, the different stages that you went through, so many people I think can relate to that because they've either gone through something similar as well, or are going through it, which I think that's where the book becomes extremely valuable, because hearing a lot of the ways that you worked through both the physical rehab, which you detail this in the book, and this was rough. I mean, I think I actually wrote one of your quotes down because I really it really struck me, which was you saying it, survival had been a miracle, but learning to live again, that was war. And, you're talking about just the mental and the physical toll that rehab had and physical therapy had. I think that can be really, really powerful for people out there that are going through that physical therapy, whether that's the result of an accident or if it is a result of some sort of disability. Can you talk a little bit about that point in your life and that physical therapy and sort of the downstream effects that it had on you when you got through it and were learning how to sort of restart your life with a physical disability?
Yeah, I think you're right, Rob. It's, I think, applicable to anybody that's gone through any kind of struggle in their life. And the book is divided into 8 sections, and the first 3 sections are kind of what happened, and then the last 5 are all this happened because of that. So it's really more about recovering from what happened than actually what happened. I go to, and the first 3 sections are the shortest of the 8. So it's kind of, this is what happened, and then this is how we, and I say we because it takes a village. I certainly needed lots of help from physical rehab and just family, and my Christian faith was pretty close to the center of this as well, and friends, and it really took a village. And there were some really tough times in rehab. Particularly, I'm remembering, as you mentioned it, the what was her name? I can't remember her name, but she was the occupational therapist, and I nickname her Debbie Downer because she's, I don't know if I mentioned that in the book, but that's what I call her. But that's already cloned, or SNL called it that.
Right.
But her brother was Donald Downer, who was the doctor that was just wretched in my case. And I thought that they at some point had to be related, but she would remind me constantly of all of the things that were going to be difficult for me and all of the things that I wouldn't be able to do. And really just her disposition for anything that she thought I could or couldn't do, or what I would or wouldn't be doing in the future, was so, it was just discouraging. And from a therapist perspective, I mean, I guess she was giving me some real dose of medicine, I guess, in her opinion, of trying to maybe wake me up or get me out of my little bubble that I thought, because I'm optimistic by nature. So I think I believe possibility is always a possibility. And she didn't think that. And so it did take a lot. And getting out of the hospital was kind of, I guess, the best thing that happened to me, so I could get out of the therapist's way, because they didn't really think too highly of my future. And if I had listened to them, or even the doctors, I was going to be we wouldn't be talking right now. I was going to be in a vegetative state for the rest of my life, however long that was going to be. So I think it's all about attitude and desire to overcome. And I guess I don't know where that came from. Maybe my parents, maybe it's learned, maybe it's genetic, but I had a pretty good dose of that, which ultimately was stronger than what the therapist thought.
Well, one thing that I was reminded of just in these last couple of days and speaking with somebody is that I think that people don't realize how important our advocates are for us when we are in medical situations or emergency situations and we cannot be there to fend for ourselves. And in your story, John, you had phenomenal advocates in your family. And not everybody has that. And not everybody even knows that they need to be if they have somebody who is under some sort of critical care. And they will just kind of sit back and let the medical professionals tell them what for.
Yes, you're right. My family, particularly my parents at the beginning there, were my best allies. I mean, in life, nobody wants anything more than you, right? So you don't want your raise or a job or whatever it is you want. Nobody wants it more than you do. The only thing that is close to that is, I think, what a parent's, now that I am a parent, I understand that better. And my parents were very strong advocates and actually pushed back a lot of times. And I don't know. I think you just use kind of the smell test. That doesn't really seem right. Or, I know my son or I know my daughter, and this is not, it just doesn't seem right, or doesn't I don't like what you're saying. And I think you can sense, if, again, my dad particularly is an eternal optimist. And so when you get a bunch of negativity or enough negativity, you're like, this has got to stop. We got to get some positive energy back in this room. And no, you're right. My parents they were a game changer, I believe, in my situation, because it certainly didn't look good. If you believe the doctors, then yeah, we're not talking today.
Hey, it's Steve. You're listening to the AT Banter podcast, and I'm not just a podcast host, I'm also president and owner of Canadian Assistive Technology. Did you know that Canadian Assistive Technology prides itself on having the largest and most extensive product line of assistive technology in Canada? We believe in giving our customers the greatest amount of choice, because finding the right solution can make all the difference. Our wide array of products cover a spectrum of needs. Whether you're looking for low vision aids like CCTVs or optical magnifiers or comprehensive blindness solutions, we've got you covered. We also offer hearing amplification solutions, alerting systems for people who are deaf, mobility canes, physical access aids, communication aids for the nonverbal, some products to support people living with dementia, and specialized digital accessible signage to make public spaces more accessible. We also have what we call our gently used marketplace for more reasonably priced options on consignment items. Plus, we have demo equipment available. Our goal is to provide all the custom accessibility solutions you need. Explore the possibilities today and visit us online at www.canastech.com or call us toll free at 1-844-795-8324. And now, back to the show.
So actually, Ed, speaking of that, could you tell the audience a little bit about the Texas two-step philosophy? Can you talk a little bit about that and sort of what the impact of that was going forward?
Yeah, so something that my dad and I would do when we got back home after I was in the hospital for 3 weeks, and I got back to my parents' house, and again, walking, talking, eating, swallowing, seeing, standing, everything was, I had to relearn pretty much everything. And it was pretty frustrating, as you might imagine. I was also, as a result of bacterial meningitis, one of the other kind of cool side effects was that I use a intermittent catheter to manage my bladder about 6 times a day. So I didn't have any friends that did that. I didn't have any friends that had sight loss, significant sight loss. And so when I was rehabbing at home, I would get pretty frustrated, and there were a lot of long days in rehab itself, and then back at home. And my dad and I, we'd walk. I have what's called a gait belt. So it's a belt that you put around your waist, and it's like a nylon, kind of thick enough where somebody on either side of you can grab a hold of it to help you stand up when you're walking. And so there were lots of times where Dad and I would go for what we would call walks. And on one particular time, he was talking about, I was just frustrated with, I don't remember what, but something that had not gone the way I wanted it to. And he was saying, well, it's kind of like, life. And I remember we were in our kitchen and we had tile, and there were, we would step on the tiles. It was like you take 2 steps forward, you take 1 step back, but you keep taking 2 steps forward, and ultimately you're going to end up where you want to go. You may have some twists and turns, but the direction is still forward. And I'm not a guy from Texas, guys. Although I'm American, as I'll get out, I'm from Ohio. Okay, so I didn't know the Texas two-step, but that's the pattern for the Texas two-step, the dance. And being in West Texas for all those years, I did actually know it by then. But I thought it was a pretty good way of describing kind of my recovery. There were setbacks for sure, but there were more wins than there were losses. And when I started to add them all up, things seem to keep moving forward. And I don't know. I just thought that was a pretty cool way to describe it. And it's a cool dance too.
So I want to talk a little bit more about rehab for a bit. When you're reading somebody's memoir, you're sort of able to sort of look at the big picture of everything, and you recognize sort of some interesting symmetry that's going on. And I'm curious to talk a little bit about the rehab, and then sort of what it was like in terms of building, I don't know, what would you call it, social resilience, maybe, in terms of like dealing with people's attitudes about disability and stuff. So I guess my question is, given that that physical rehab was so taxing, and you had to learn everything from eating and drinking and walking, and like it was really intense. Were you able to take the resilience and the lessons that you learned from rehab and apply it to, say, ableistic attitudes or barriers that you found later on, whether that was, through employment or even just socially?
I think so. I would like to tell you that you could draw immediate comparisons in real time and say, that's exactly what happened here, and this is exactly what I'm going to do. But no, it didn't. It doesn't. Man, I wish it would have worked that smoothly. That's just, in my experience, that's not the way life works for me. But I think when you're in the trenches and you go through those types of things, I think you just get a different level of understanding of the amount of energy and effort that sometimes it takes to move things in your direction and do things the way you want. And it certainly helped, no doubt. But I don't know. I don't know that I'm good enough to really kind of draw those patterns forward. I think in my case, I just kind of had to go through those things because I was 19. I speak with people that have been, say, maybe blind since birth, and they didn't know any different. So they've always been advocating for themselves, or always been trying to adapt and do things a different way. And maybe to a certain extent everybody does, which is true. But once you enter into a disability or some alternate way of doing what most people would perceive as common, then at some point you just get enough calluses that you understand that this is just the way I need to do things. And I think it was just going through that stuff and going through those experiences that ultimately, I don't have enough yet. Things happen today that are, challenging. It's not like it's a piece of cake these days, but it's certainly a lot easier than it was in those days or in the earlier chapters of that book. So it just takes, I'm not good enough or smart enough to, people ask about the book and what it's about. A lot of times it's about what not to do, guys. These are some kind of lessons that I learned, and I would not suggest trying these, but here's some ones that did work.
Right. Well, and I think that it is really important for people to read that. What always strikes me with stories like yours, and everybody everybody in the community, has their sort of their own story. But what the types of things that stand out to me is that, you're constantly hacking life. I think when you have a disability, you're learning to do things in different ways. And because of the inaccessible society that we've sort of built, that kind of has to happen. One incident that you talk about in the book that I was shocked by was you learning how to cross a intersection with no pedestrian audio signals, and just listening for the hum of car engines.
Yeah, so that's real. Yeah, so there was a crosswalk. A few, I don't know, several hundred feet or meters, sorry guys, away, that was out of my way. But I think I would rather do, and I'd kind of like to do things my own way. And I don't really want to rely on others any more than I really have to. So there's a lot of stubbornness built into my kind of general persona. But yeah, I think it's kind of cool to listen and know. It was kind of like a bar trick, right? I mean, like, my friends thought it was pretty cool, and I tell them to close their eyes. There were some times. I did tell people, though, I did have a cell phone, and I would talk to people, and I'd say, hey, by the way, I'm crossing the street. If you hear us screeching tires and something hit the ground, it's probably me getting hit by a car. So call 911. I'm at 15th and University in Lubbock. But I just think, the title of the book is called Destiny Is Debatable. And I think that's supposed to be sort of provocative and maybe make you kind of wonder what that means. But the contrast to that I say next is that action isn't. So while destiny might be debatable, action isn't. So I think we have to take action and advocate for ourselves and not let things be left to chance. Because if things are left to chance, or you believe what other people say, then that's, there's a famous, I think it's Henry Ford quote that says, whether you can or whether you can't, you're probably right. And I would like to believe more times than not that I can, rather than that I can't. And I'll figure out a way to do it.
Robin, when you get the orientation and mobility training, and you learn to use a white cane, you have to master the art of audible cues at intersections, because there are so much of the country does not have anything that's assistive in any way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the times I don't recommend that, by the way. That's one of the things I don't recommend.
Yeah.
I certainly don't recommend. But like this, again, this is 1998, 99. And even today in 2026, there are crossing signals. Most of them in my area in Texas do have countdowns and spoken direction, which is obviously great. But 28 years ago, absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah, I could totally see that. I could totally see it not being ideal or anything. I guess for me, what I took out of it was just the fact that it must feel somewhat empowering to be able to feel like you're able to sort of take control over a situation and make it your own and create your own workaround about something, and not let something just like, oh, well, you can't do that. Another example from the book that stands out is that you're when you talk about going back to baseball games and using a Walkman so that you could use the radio play-by-play to follow the action. Again, a creative workaround to something to reconnect with something that you really enjoyed before. So I thought that, those are great messages for people who, may be facing down, say, vision loss, for example. I think it's a really powerful message.
Absolutely. And that's, I think, what I was saying earlier is that I wanted to find a way to do things for myself. Again, I said it earlier, nobody wants things more than I do for myself. And it's interesting you mentioned the baseball thing, because just a couple months ago, so in the US, there's a service called YouTube TV, and we had a problem between college football and and YouTube TV where there was a contract dispute. And so for like 3 weekends, which is just ghastly. I mean, okay, so imagine you guys didn't have hockey, okay, for 3 weeks, okay? So here we are in America. We don't have lots of people I know use the service, including people that live near me. And I was talking with a friend of mine, and he was like, you know what? I actually got the car and I turned on the radio of the game. He's like, it was so much better. Like the radio description of the game. And he's like, I guess you know all about that, John, because I mean, he knows of my site. I'm like, yeah, because in radio, nobody sees the game. So the broadcast is everything is, you know, when that guy slides into second base, they give you the total description of all the dirt that's flying and his cleats are up and the tags on his lower leg and, you know, whatever happens, it's all described as though nobody was viewing. And so there oftentimes are ways around those situations, particularly in the visually impaired, but it applies to lots of other disabilities too.
There's something else that I've written down that I kind of thought was interesting that I wanted to talk a little bit about. This idea of navigating the battlefield when it comes to just dealing with life, and especially in the sense of ableism and other systemic barriers that people with disabilities regularly find themselves up against. Could you talk a little bit about that concept, knowing when to pick your battles, I guess?
It's just a situation where you just kind of got to find your way. I used the analogy of kind of the smell test before, where things just don't seem right or don't smell right. Just probably somewhere you shouldn't be.
Right.
And there oftentimes is a path. Usually, almost every time there's a path. But if you are barking up the wrong tree, you're not going to find that path. You got to swallow your pride enough to say this is just not for me, and accept that, and then just look, here's the adaptation, or here's the way around that, and here's how I'm going to do things. Because if you want to get it, then that's what you have to do to get it.
Yeah, what struck me is I got a real chuckle out of I guess what we call it the Hooters incident. Can you talk a little bit about that? And I think that's a great example of just like knowing when to hold them and knowing when to fold them, so to speak.
So I'm like 25 or 26, and I'm with my dad and my brother, who is 2 years younger than me. He's like 24. And my brother's the youngest person, and my dad and my friend's dad are like, you know, in their 50s, 60s, whatever. And so we go, and we're going to just go get some wings and some beers and watch a hockey game, it's actually basketball, but I'll say hockey for the purposes of this conversation. And we order a beer, we order a pitcher, and they ID us. And like, I have a identification card. I don't have a driver's license. And they wouldn't serve it. They would serve me. They would serve everybody else, but they wouldn't serve me. And so my brother and my dad and our friends, they said, okay, well, this is crazy. So we're leaving. We pushed it with the waiter and the manager of the restaurant. We pushed it with their corporate. So there's a franchise and then there's a corporate. And I wrote a strongly worded letter. I contacted all kinds of bureaus with letters, just all kinds of different. I spent a lot of time and energy very upset with it. And I was embarrassed and I was frustrated and like, you're taking a liberty from me and this is America and why can't I drink a beer and I'm 26. And ultimately, the response from the corporate was not good at all. They sent me some gift cards and, you just can't use them on beer. But, that was like, that was probably I bet you that was in like 2006. It's probably been 20 years.
Right.
And I have not been back to that establishment since. And none of the people that were at that, there were 6 of us, 5 or 6 of us that day. None of us have been back. And it's just, ultimately I understood that that's a private company and they can do things the way they think things need to be done. And their impression, getting a fake identification card was more difficult than getting a fake driver's license. But I just think you have to kind of apply some common sense to some of these rules.
Right.
And ultimately, I learned through the experience over the course of a few weeks that they hadn't done anything wrong legally. And as a guy who was a business owner at the time, I understand that, you have to do things to protect yourself, and I get it. But again, if you can't apply common sense, the guy can't see, doesn't have a drive. I'm not faking anything. And you just vote with your feet, right?
Right.
It's kind of how we say it. You just don't go back. And whether they're going to make it or not, I think they'll be okay without me. But I think the more people I tell about it, the more people understand that these are the kind of things that that's a battle you got to pick.
Right.
And I thought I could pick that battle, and then realized that was useless of me to do and waste my energy and time on. And I need to go in a different direction. There's lots of places that serve chicken wings and beer, and
Right.
they were happy to have me.
But you won't get the short shorts and the the plunging necklines.
Well, now, Liz, that's not why we were there, of course.
That's
Well,
right.
obviously, listen, a blind man is not going to Hooters for anything other than the chicken wing. I know you listen.
So there you go.
There you go. That's
Exactly.
That's your story, and you're sticking to it.
Exactly.
right. But I thought it was really interesting, especially when you compare it to some of the other times where you did push back against the system and you did win. So specifically, you talk about in the book about taking your, what was it, state, I think it was state insurance license exam.
Yeah. So I had to in the profession that I am in, you have to be licensed. Okay. And so I apparently was the first guy that needed visual aid or sighted assistance to take it go through companies that do testing, for the state agencies. And it was a private company, but apparently I was the first guy that needed to have a sighted assistance for that. And it was obviously completely crazy that I needed that. Like, I asked them, they're like, sorry, we can't help you. I don't know what to tell you. You'll have to go somewhere else. I'm like, well, you're like the only place that does this. So I do need to do it. And I'm not being a big jerk about anything, but I am being forceful enough. I think somebody coined the phrase like pleasantly persistent. So you just, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. You can go guns blazing, and sometimes you got to do that. But there are times where you just got to put a smile on and say, hey, listen, I understand, but I need you to help understand that this is how I need to do this. And there's got to be a way to do it. And they did it. And the crazy thing is that I know lots of people that have taken those tests fully, sighted, and they took it like 10 or 12 times because they couldn't pass it, or even 2 or 3 times. And I nailed it. I had 2 of them back to back. I'm not trying to gloat here, but like I nailed them on the first time, and they didn't really want to give. Otherwise, I would have been guessing, right? I would have been as good as these other people, just guessing the answers and maybe trying to pass. But that's definitely a time where pushing back was the right way to do it.
And so then sort of just to wrap that all up in a bow. So what have you found through all of that? Like, have you found that you've sort of built your own criteria for, when to fight those battles and when to not?
Yeah, I think so. I think I have a pretty good internal gauge for that now, and it's probably pretty relative to whatever the situation is. But I've gotten much more through those experiences comfortable with advocating for myself, because as I said earlier, nobody wants anything more than me. So if I want to pass, if I want that designation or that certification or that job, or I want my drink at Starbucks that's got my name on it, but I can't read the label, then I've got to ask the barista, or I've got to ask the person standing next to me, hey, is that cup, what's that cup say? Because otherwise I'll be standing there all day waiting for a drink that may or may not be there, and then by the time I get it, it'll be cold. So I don't want it anymore.
The other piece of the story that I would definitely like to touch upon before we start to bring this this in for a landing is that aside from this being a book where John really details his life entering into this new world of disability, and then for the first 3 parts, and then his life afterwards, this is so much a story about family, about love, resilience, and I think that it's unexpected in a lot of these types of books of what you think. You sometimes think it's going to be very, medically driven, and there isn't going to be any more story to it. But this story really chronicles so much of your journey beyond the meningitis, and sort of how you still found this incredibly beautiful life despite everything that you had to face. And so I wanted to put that out there. And I guess one of the things that I wanted to also mention is that John met his wife through a matchmaking. When I say a matchmaking, not a service, but through somebody, correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And we met on a blind date too, which is, just, you can put all the puns in there you want.
Yeah. So I just say, listen, to all the people out there, don't poo-poo when people try to set you up, because this is like the most incredible story of someone being matched up with somebody, because everyone gets to see, oh my God, do you have this? I have this person that you have to meet. And you're like, oh my God, you roll your eyes. And John and his wife, they took a chance, and they have this really incredible life together. But I just think that this book has a lot of little hidden gems about life that just go so far beyond whether or not you think you want to read about something that has to do with meningitis necessarily.
Yeah, I hate to say that it's a love story, because I'm a man and I don't really like love stories, and it's not sappy at all. It's just really kind of the way things happened. And I think you're right. I had been through the ringer. I'd been on dating services, and I'd been on other other people, hey, you should meet this person or whatever. But ultimately, I kind of felt like I wanted to do things on my own. We talked about that a little bit earlier. But when it came down to meeting my wife, Erin, it was a match that came through some common people, through a homeless shelter and a blind date, and just odd timing. I mean, perfect timing, but if you looked at it a different way, it could certainly be odd. And on the heels of a relationship that was particularly difficult for me to exit from, and I don't know. There's a bigger power playing there that I can't explain, that guided me through those times and led me to Erin. And it's not a love story, but it is. It's a love story told from a male's perspective, I guess. So it's not lovey-dovey or anything, but it does go through kind of some pretty challenging things that I have to try to explain to Erin, and really some miraculous things that happen once I start to open up and find the right person to communicate those things to.
No, but I think there was a lot of sweetness to it. I think it's relatable in the way it's written, the way it's all laid out. And I think it really humanizes the story to on a different level, because sometimes I think that it's when you read certain stories about something that is as profound as the events that you had to endure, it sometimes can push a reader back, because you're like, oh my God, wow, this is and then when you start to move into other aspects where people are able to relate to it, it's a different relationship that evolves with the reader that happens over the course of the book. So
yeah,
I'll just leave it at that, because I'm the only woman here, and okay, fine, get you and your mess story. Okay, go on.
No, I mean, listen, there is some really touching, beautiful moments in the book, and I think that it really, this decision that you made, John, about showing what happens after, I think is really powerful, especially to a lot of people that are going through similar things, because you talk about ordinary days when no one is cheering, and I think that is really powerful, to show the lived experience and the everyday struggles that you go through, because let's face it, for people in the community, that's 90% of their life is just doing that, like just the everyday struggles, and that's the stuff that they're gonna relate to, and those are the moments that they need to know that, hey, I'm not the only one that's going through something similar.
I think so. And I try to infuse enough humor throughout. I'm a pretty big fan of music, and I try to infuse some musical gems and some wisdom from music, but also humor, because I think humor is really something that can disarm someone if you're trying to explain something challenging or difficult. Like something like catheters and stuff. Coming in with lightheartedness or being able to laugh at yourself, I think can make all the difference. And I try to infuse enough of that so it doesn't seem sappy like a love story. Doesn't seem like I'm trying to say that it's as bad as it is. And I think the way I end it, I'll leave it up to you guys whether it's commentable or not. But, I had a dress. I don't know if any of your dads had dresses, but my girls all have their dad's dress that they wore. And I think that's kind of a fitting way to kind of leave things with the story.
100%. 100%. Well, listen, thanks again for coming by and visiting us again. Congratulations on the book. It's really fantastic. When is it out?
It is out, yes. So it was officially released on February 7th. It was an Amazon #1 bestseller. So you said author at the beginning. You can now say best-selling author.
Wow.
Nice. Right, that's right. And it was on paperback, and the ebook version was released on February 28th. So February 7th was the day that I went to the hospital 28 years ago. So that's why the paperback was released then. And the ebook version released on February 28th because that's the day I got out of the hospital.
Amazing. Awesome. Go out and get it. Listeners, the name of the book, Destiny Is Debatable, a memoir of meningitis, losing sight, and the love I didn't see coming. Incidentally, I feel like you could have a longer title.
Yeah, I actually had one that was 3 sentences longer, but my editor made me cut it down to something that was decently long, not morosely long.
Well, see, what do they know? It's not like they're a best-selling author. What do I know? I know nothing. So Don't listen to me.
Don't be so hard on yourself, Rob.
Wait, but actually, before we let you go, is there something in the works? Are you working on something else? Or are you just going to kind of rest on your laurels for a while and enjoy being a best-selling author?
No, there's no rest. This has spawned a few ideas. So I had when I actually was set out to write this book, I had 2 different ideas in mind, and what we came up with ultimately is what we have now. But I think I like this writing thing, and I have some other elements of the story that I left a lot on the cutting room floor, and some may argue I left too much and not enough on the cutting room floor, right? But I do think it was important to go through all of the things that I did to kind of describe what happened in the most concise way I could. But I think I've got at least one more that I could even do it before the end of the year. I don't think it's going to happen, but I am promoting this, and I have a couple book signings, and
wow.
I'm trying to, particularly in the meningitis space. We started a foundation, my wife and I did. So it's called Shots for Meningitis. And all the proceeds from our book sales actually go to that foundation, actually. So anybody that buys the book, anything that we make from it goes to the foundation. So it's pretty awesome thing too. And what we're trying to do is spread awareness for meningitis and help people and survivors like me that have these lifelong lasting effects of things that, they didn't see coming, things that just happened out of the blue. So I feel like that's kind of my lane now, and that's where I'm headed.
Well, that's awesome. Well, listen, we will include all those links in the show notes if anyone wants to go and buy the book. Please don't wait 3 years. You come on anytime, sir.
Interesting you said don't wait.
That's right.
It's interesting you say that, because that might be what we're talking about the next time.
Oh, I love it. I love it. In fact, that was, I'm not going to ruin it for people. I'm not getting spoilers, but there's a great quote at the end of the book. So
thanks, Rob. Thanks, Steve. Great to talk to you, Liz.
Great
Y'all
to
have
have
good. See ya.
All right, John, take care. Well, there you go. Best-selling author right here on AT Banter.
Look at that. We just got best-selling authors up the wazoo.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad he didn't tell me that before, because I would have been nervous going into it. Glad I learned about that after the fact.
Oh,
I didn't even know it wasn't out. I wasn't sure if it had been out yet or. Oh, well.
Yeah, no, the print version came out first, and now the ebook is out, and
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Wow. Well, there you go.
Nice.
I wonder what best-selling author we'll have on next. Who knows? Stay tuned, everybody. Now we've set a precedent.
now we can only have best-selling authors on here.
That's
right.
right. None of these sucky authors who.
Well, wait a minute. No, we had
published.
another best-selling author, didn't
Yes,
we?
well, we had my author Stephen Hartove on, and he
That's
is he is a New York Times best-selling author.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's like, I don't want to. No, I mean, you know what I mean. It's
do.
it's a more prestigious.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally.
Not an algorithmic title.
Oh, see, I didn't even know the difference, but I was impressed either way.
No, listen, I'm never. I just say that, but I'm not going to poo-poo anything. Like, listen,
It's great.
if you sell enough copies and you hit that spot, good for you. Yeah, take it and you run with it.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, it's prompted me like maybe I need to start working on my memoir.
There you go. Listen, I think that Steve will work up the cover artwork. He's already got that amazing caricature of you. I mean,
That's right.
I think you're right. I do.
your author photo is already done. Steve's got it in the bag. You're ready to rock. All you got to do is write this bitch.
That's right. Don't wait.
What do we call it?
Don't wait.
Advocacy and atrophy. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
You know what? A life beyond ravioli.
Not bad.
The bottom of my ravioli can.
Well, I'll work it up. I'll workshop this, and I'll have an update for you guys next week.
The man with the
sounds good.
marinara mustache.
Ooh, also good.
That's an
The
excellent one,
marinara mustache.
Yeah.
That's great, actually.
Oh,
If I write a crime novel, that would be actually a really good name.
look at that! I'm all about the book thing. That's me.
Yeah, no kidding. You clearly do this for a living.
You think? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Oh dear.
Hard to
Okay.
say.
Well, anything else anybody wants to talk about before we land this plane, as Liz said?
No, I think we got to land this pretty quick here because in 5 minutes' time, the Great Orange One is going to make his State of the Onion address, and I am so looking forward to seeing how long it takes him to go off the rails.
That's true. Actually, I might have to tune into that myself.
Yeah.
He said this is going to be a long one. I'm like,
Oh no.
with the fact that he's calling this one a long one,
Yeah.
it's going to be even longer than. I mean, all of them have been long. I'm like, oh
I
my god,
know.
and this is going to be the long one. Oh Lord, man.
Yeah.
We got work tomorrow. We got.
Well, we'll have a lot to talk about next week, I'm sure. All right. Well, then I guess that's going to about do it for us this week. Of course, big thanks to best-selling author John Grimes for joining us. And we will see everybody next week.
This podcast has been brought to you by Canadian Assistive Technology, providing low vision and blindness solutions, as well as physical access solutions and augmentative communication aids across Canada. Find us online at www.canastech.com, or if you're in the Vancouver Lower Mainland, visit our storefront at number 106 828 West 8th Avenue in Vancouver. That's one block off Broadway at Willow. You can reach us by phone toll-free at 1-844-795-8324 or by email at sales@canastech.com.